Hey guys, today I'm on Presque Isle Bay in Erie, Pennsylvania, fishing for big Lake Erie bronzebacks. It's football season up here. Pre-spawn, water temperature in the 40s, and I'm going to drop some metal on them. Laid bait fishing. These big Lake Erie smallmouth are coming into the bay or into any protected areas on Lake Erie to spawn. It's the only thing they got on their mind. Get a couple of nice sunny days like we have here, it's warming the water. It's still really cold out, but the sun and the light cycle is the key. Water temperature is secondary. These fish come in end of March, 1st of April, every single year, no matter what the water temperature is. I've seen them come in on the low 40s, mid 50s. The depth range I'm looking at this time of the year is maybe as shallow as 12 to 14 feet, but I'm generally focused on that 17 to 25 foot range, looking for anything. It doesn't have to be anything big. Little subtleties, little rock piles, individual rocks, humps, channels, even the main channel coming in. We call it the chute. These fish are just migrating in, so you're looking for little things that are gonna attract their attention and make them stop just for a second. It's staging areas, so you got fresh fish coming all the time. So let's see what we can do here. Right there, there's 3 on the edge, 1 down there at the bottom. Marked a couple right there. See if we can't blade one of them up. I'm anxious. This is my first time out this year fishing deep, so see what happens. Okay, I got a buoy out. I didn't really throw it on the fish. I kind of went upwind of them and then threw it out. Just mainly a reference point. I don't like to rely on my electronics for that. I want to be looking at the fish and focusing on you know, the way they react to my bait. I'm going to be vertically fishing with the steel shad, so I just want to focus on that. I've got the reference point, which is that buoy out there, and this is my metal box. This is for summer, spring, and fall. I got the big giant spoons in here, the structure spoons, jigging spoons, and of course my steel shads. This is one that I had them make, you know, something I felt like we needed in the lineup. Nice little black hooks. These are real finessey type hooks. It really sticks them good. Comes with a little snap that I use all the time already on it, and of course the 2 holes, which dictate how the bait falls and how it fishes. So I kind of like it in that back hole most of the time. It puts that nose down a little bit and makes it fall a little bit faster, but they all work. This is a sexy shad one. I like gold, I like silver. I have all the colors just in case you get on a school. Sometimes switching makes a difference. The rod that I like is a 610. I like a 6.5, 610. You could use a 7-footer. I just want something that's real light, real small, real comfortable. This happens to be a medium action. This is an Envy series from 13 Fishing, and it's just real nice for that vertical fishing. It's a medium action. It's the same rod that I use for jerkbait fishing. It's got a lot of bend, but it's also got a lot of tip, so that bait does what I'm doing with the rod. I'm kind of old school most of the time, not all the time, but I am using monofilament, the same line that I would use for a topwater bait, only because I've been doing this so long. I mean, I don't even know how long, to show my age, but 35 years probably. I always used to use the mono because that was before fluorocarbon actually came out, and I switched to fluorocarbon like I did for everything else because there's so many advantages to it, and I started losing a lot more fish. Same basic rod action, same everything, same baits, and I would lose fish. So I went back to mono to let those fish kind of eat it a little bit better, where I can actually set the hook and it seems like I catch more fish on that. So I got the softer rod and the monofilament working together. If you know me, I like fast reels for everything. This is an 8-to-1. Smallmouth are real fast, even when the water's in the 40s like it is now. The fish are real cold when you touch them, but they're still fast. I mean, they still jump. If I catch one today, you'll see it jumps. They're still acrobatic. They get real fast at the boat. So I just want that advantage of high speed so I can catch up with them, and I just have all the control in the world. On the line, it's Sufix monofilament, and I like to use as light as I can get away with. I will go to 8-pound sometimes because I like to use these smaller baits that aren't super heavy. So the lighter line really helps getting it down there, especially in the wind and deep water. Today I'm using 14, which is the highest that I'll use. And I usually use that when I know there's groups of fish and I know I'm gonna catch them. Always have a rod with lighter line, but the 14 is nice when you get one close. You know, you can swing them in the boat and kind of power fish a little bit. So there's really not a lot to this, you know. I'm looking on my depth finder trying to visually see fish. I idled over this and obviously saw a few of them here. But as far as the technique, you know, when you get around the fish, I mean, even if you're just fishing a vast area, like drifting down a channel edge or just fishing across a point and drifting, it's a real good way to catch them. I mean, you can catch them shallow even when they come up shallow. A lot of people don't realize it's a good bait for that 6 to 10 foot range. You can cast it out there and kind of fish it like a rip and wrap like we do all the time. But basically, you can see I'm just I'm dropping it down there, letting it hit the bottom, engaging my reel, and just snapping it up. You can feel that vibration, and letting it free fall back down on a controlled slack line. And most of the time you feel the bites. They're gonna bite it when it's falling. A lot of times on that initial fall. Sometimes you'll jig it up and it won't sink, and that's a sign of a bite too. You won't feel you won't feel nothing. Other times you'll just go to jig up and there'll be one on there. So it's a lot of fun. It's exciting fishing straight down under the boat like this. And when you catch one of these big suckers, you got to be ready because they're strong. It's a good way to get them fired up sometimes too. They don't always bite it. It's not always the best thing to do. It's probably the funnest way to catch them, but sometimes they just bite it. You can't get it down there fast enough. Other times they want a drop shot or a tube or something like that, but a lot of times they won't bite. You'll be on a big school of big smallmouth and you can't get them to bite a tube or a drop shot, and you drop this bait down in there and it activates the school. I mean, it's kind of like a largemouth cranking deal, you know what I mean? You got to get them fired up sometimes, and you can't beat the Steel Shad for making that happen. There's a lot of different blade baits on the market, and I've used them all. I got them in my box. Cicadas, Silver Buddies, Silver Luckies, Vibeys, a lot of good ones, you know. The reason I like the Steel Shad, and you know, they were not a sponsor of mine. I used them for a couple years before. We actually teamed up, you know, with Steve and his gang over there, and luckily I'm able to use a lot of the products that I love and I already have confidence in. But the reason I like the Steel Shad over the other ones most times is because it works out of the package every time. Very consistent. A lot of the other ones, I'll end up having favorite ones, and I'll go through 5 or 6 baits that I bought to try to get that same feel, you know. And there's some of them that if I lost, I would probably cry like a little baby. And then I can't ever get another one to work quite the same way. So I do like that in the Steel Shad, is the consistency of it. I take it out of the package and I know every single one of them is gonna feel exactly the same. If you fish spoons and you fish vertically a lot, you'll know that the baits tangle up. When you're doing this, it's just part of the game. And when you drop a Steel Shad down there and fish it for 5 minutes, you're gonna realize that it doesn't do that as often. Don't know why, but it's a fact. See them down there? Those are big smallmouth. I fish this blade a lot of different ways. I think just like with any technique, you do have to experiment a little bit. You know, sometimes this simple, just jigging it is the key. You're always gonna be able to get bites doing it that way. But sometimes the fish want a little slower, just a little pull, you know, just a lift. Other times it's more of a hard snap. Sometimes, you know, jigging it up and holding it up there and jiggling it a little bit letting it fall back down, snapping it up, jiggle it a little bit. And believe it or not, sometimes just making casts with it or throwing it across a point or down a ledge and literally just cranking it real fast and killing it. We might end up doing that today, who knows? But there's a lot of different ways you can work it. You can't really fish it wrong. You just have to experiment from day to day, from hour to hour, and just kind of let the fish tell you what they want. I know you hear that all the time and it sounds easy, but you really never know. These smallmouth are finicky, they're picky sometimes. I mean, I'm jigging right on top of their faces right now and can't get one to bite. So it's up to you to try to figure out how to trick them into biting this thing. But I can guarantee you, nothing looks more like a bait fish than this bait right here. I'll tell you what, Spot Lock is such a good tool to have with this, because they're always fishing too deep for the power poles when you're out here blade bait fishing, and there's nothing like being able to hit that anchor button and just sit right on top of those fish. Oh my gosh, giant. Come on, buddy. Look at that. That's an absolute giant. Come on, buddy. 5-pounder, maybe bigger, maybe 6. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at that. Steel shad in your face. Love it. That is the steel shad in action. Big old chunk. Yeah. Bit it. Wow. Yeah, let's catch another one. Yeah. All the steel shads are great. There's a lot of different models out there. Even the mini works really good for ice fishing, but my favorite is this heavy series. It's heavier, but has a smaller profile. And this is the one, if you're gonna get one steel shad, this is the one I would get. This is the one I find myself using most of the time. Works even in the wind like we have today in the current. I only go bigger if I really have to, big giant waves or weird situations like that, but you can't beat the heavy series. 3/8 ounce. Sometimes on those real flat days, real calm, fish are finicky, water's clear, whatever it is, I'll go down to a 1/4 ounce. Sometimes you have to go small like that, but most of the time, day in and day out, this is the one you want. There's one. Come on. Oh, it feels like a big one. Oh yeah, look at that one. Come here, buddy. Look at that. Look at that giant. Come here. That's bigger than the other one. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Get in here. God, I want to touch you. I want to touch you. I want to touch you. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, look at that one. Oh my gosh, how big is that? That's a Lake Erie slaunch. That's definitely over 6 pounds. With the monofilament, softer rod, those really light wire hooks, you got to play them a little bit. You can't be horsing them and stuff because you'll bend those hooks out. But man, you catch them. You catch a lot of fish on the steel shad. So guys, get out here in the nice, brisk, cold, clean air. Get you some heavy metal. Drop it down there and catch some giant smallmouth like this. Hopefully these tips help you catch more fish. Big one. Yeah, let's catch another one.